Okay, so mic choices for getting a bass sound, acoustic and electric.
Right. Well, on the acoustic bass, it's my favorite instrument to record. I love the acoustic bass. I use two M149s, Neumann, on the bass, and I put one on the F-hole about that far from the F-hole, and I put one up on the fingerboard where he's plucking, and that's usually it. Bass players always love it when I'm working on a session because I'm so conscious of the bass sound and getting a really good bass sound. If you can't get the 149s, 67s work great on the bass, 47s work great on the bass. I would suggest tube mics in particular because I think they're warmer sounding and you get a better bass sound. I take those mics and I put them in the Summit 100s and I tap them, just a dB, just to get the warmth of the tube. And it seems to work pretty well for me. That's pretty much it for the acoustic. I mean, years ago we only used one mic. I'm fortunate now we have bigger desks and all, but we'd only use one mic, and I used to use a 47 or a 67, and I'd put it up between the two F-holes, just down from where his fingers are, and one mic there. And the same thing, just put it in a tube compressor and just tap it. I don't like to use compression. I use the compressors basically for the warmth of the tubes.
On the F-hole, when you put the mic on the F-hole, put it on the right or the left. Does it make a difference?
It doesn't make a difference depending on the player. I always start with it on, if you're the player, I was the left of the player. And then the fingerboard up here on the right. It doesn't matter, you can switch them. Guy may be a left-handed player and you want to have them the other way or whatever. On the electric bass, I have a direct box that I use. It's the Radial, big transformer, and it just sounds great. And even guys like Lee Sklar loved it when I put it on him. And he has his own stuff that he brings. But we tried it, and he just thought it was great. It's really great sounding. And that's pretty much it. And I'll put it in a compressor and do the same thing, tap a little. And if you have a great electric bass player, you're not going to worry about much. You know, they play evenly, and so you're not doing a lot of compression on anything. Sometimes they'll want to use the amp, and if they do want to use the amp, then I'll put a condenser microphone on the amp, or maybe I'll use a ribbon mic. I use Roya, the 122. I love that microphone on a bass amp, and Audio-Technica makes a great one too. 4080, I think it is. It's a great ribbon mic, and I really like that a lot on a bass amp.
You need to pay close attention to the phase differential between the direct and the mic too, don't you, with an electric bass?
We check the phasing on all the microphones before I do a session with a phase clicker. And we go around to all the microphones to make sure they're all set and in phase. So yeah, it's important, and to make sure that he may be out of phase. The bass player himself may be, his guitar with the amp. So yeah, you have to check that. That's important. But that's pretty much it with the bass.